This is Not Another Nux podcast with your hosts Ajay and Har, brought to you by Loudmouth Brewing. For the best beers and burgers in town, visit Loudmouth Brewing in Abbotsford. Ajay, it's official. The Canucks are finally going to play at home.
Yeah, man. I was actually surprised when I saw this come down the pipeline, the fact that Bonnie Henry approved it. I didn't think that she was going to. Yeah, I'm very happy by that news. I think it's going to be a big help for their season.
No, absolutely, man. And just the fact that you mentioned this in the last few episodes where being in a bubble would be so detrimental for the team's output and not being able to go home and, get the proper rest. Just the fact that they get to play at home, be fully rested and, working as a team properly, I actually believe that the Canucks have a better chance now in the standings.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it can only help. The fact that they'll be close to their families and just kind of not being in like hotels for I think the plan was going to be like they would be in the bubble for like 2 weeks and then come home for a week. I don't know, something like that. But that would just be a lot of miles, a lot of travel. And being the fact that they are on the West Coast, they would be traveling the most out of all the Canadian teams. So, yeah, no, I think this is a huge win and definitely helps them out in terms of kind of equalizing the playing field with the other teams. So yeah, no, I think it's great. But do you know the details in terms of like how it's going to work with other teams in terms of them coming in and the kind of quarantining themselves from the public? Are they allowed to go out in public?
From what I've read, I don't think they're allowed to. I think they're gonna have like mini bubbles again, right?
Okay.
In each city.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the extent of what the bubbles are gonna be. But I do know that they're very deterring, like outside people partying with them or them connecting with anyone or going out anywhere.
Yeah, and another thing that, again, I haven't looked into this, but I know one of the biggest hiccups with Bonnie Henry initially giving them the no was just in terms of what would happen if one of the players were to test positive for COVID. I think the rule NHL wanted was that if a player tested positive, the rest of the team, if they came in close contact, wouldn't have to sit out a game.
Yeah.
And I think Bonnie Henry wanted, like, anyone that came in close contact would have had to. So I'm not sure what the ruling is, but whatever it is, man, I'm glad that things worked out and that they'll be able to play games at Rogers Arena.
That's huge. And just for the performance alone, that's huge. But also for the fans, like I know how excited everyone is. Like Tinder, or sorry, not Tinder, Twitter.
Tinder's on fire.
Well, Tinder's always on fire. We'll get to that though. Twitter blew up, and right before that, people were so negative, as how Canucks Twitter usually is.
Yeah.
But when the announcement was official that the Canucks will be playing home games, at least to start the season, unless an outbreak happens, people were very, very happy, very excited. One thing that I read though was that apparently the BC government asked the NHL to pay out of pocket for a lot of advertisements deterring partying or watching games with many people. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear that. And did the NHL agree?
I mean, I assume so. That's why they got passed. I think.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a pretty minor thing. I'm not sure why the BC government would really kind of put that at the table, but I guess it's important to them.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, really what to make of that.
I guess they think that if no one's going to listen to Bonnie, a few people will listen to, like, Bohor Band.
I guess, yeah.
So, that's awesome that the Canucks are going to play at home. But that also means a lot of players are making it back, right? I know Lind, it just came back recently. Hoglander's in back. And it's funny because I know Faber on Twitter, he was trying to break the fact that, Hoglander's coming back. And when is he going to be back? When is he landing and everything? And the way we found out the Hoglander was back was by a Vancouver girl actually matching up with him on Tinder.
That is awesome.
He's in a 2-kilometer radius.
So funny.
Yeah. And then people got mad at him because they're like, he's not social distancing. I'm like, I don't think this app is meant for social distancing.
Yeah, but I mean, what do you think though, just about like the players' privacy kind of being put out in public like that?
Yeah, that's a little too much. I'm pretty sure that when it comes to those apps, like when you sign the agreement or whatever, you check the thing. Like, I think you're kind of promising not to share that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when you're such a high-profile person, especially how Hoglander would be in Vancouver, it just comes with the territory, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
If 50 Cent showed up on someone's Tinder, they'd be like, "Oh my God, 50 Cent!" Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I just thought it was just kind of weird that someone would, I guess, post that. But like you said, you're playing in a hockey hotbed, and I guess that just kind of comes with the territory. Yeah, no, I thought that was a pretty funny way of him announcing his arrival.
Yeah. There's a bunch of jokes going on about that, but my favorite
I think
one.
the best tweet though was yours. I don't know if you want to share that, but I really enjoyed that one.
The one I was like, it's a different type of between the legs goal.
That was so good. That was so good.
Yeah, no, I read a few of them out there, and they're pretty good, right? They're so yeah. But you know what? I heard a lot about his hand-eye coordination and everything and his speed. But I'm actually pretty excited that he is back. I'm happy that Tinder was the thing that broke it, but just having Hoglander back and tryouts literally start next week, man. That is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how fast things have moved. The fact that we were just days away from just discussing potential schedules and just in terms of players coming back home, and now like they're home for the most part. They're all home, and the fact that training camp is like less than a week away, and this entire schedule is. I was just kind of looking at that. What do you make of that? Just in terms of like the way that the schedule is laid out with 2 or 3 kind of games at once. And I know we kind of talked about this last episode, but now kind of seeing the schedule set in stone, where we open up on 13th, 14th with a back-to-back against Edmonton. How do you think the season's going to kind of roll out with playing 2 or 3 games in one city?
I love it. Just the fact that we're facing just Canadian teams. And I know you mentioned this a couple episodes ago, how we're guaranteed one Canadian team to make the Final Four. That is so exciting. And the fact that you have these mini series that you're talking about and you're facing 2 or 3 times against a certain team, I think that'll just build the rivalry more and more, because usually we only see Toronto twice in a year, right? Once there, once here, and whatnot. But the fact that we're going to play them like 10 times, and then from there everyone's going to be measuring, okay, did we win this time with the best out of 5, the best out of 3, like even out of the entirety, the mini series are going to get people so amped up, right? So I'm happy for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think the way that the schedule, the way that they've kind of done the schedule, I think it'll be fun for a year. But like you said, we do enjoy seeing players from other teams come into the city. So I'm glad it's only for 1 year, but I think it's going to be a ratings galore, though, man. Like everyone's going to be tuned in nightly, and the fact that like they basically play back to back to back. I think there's like a 3-day break after like a few weeks, but it's like their schedule is insane, man. I think there's at most a day break between each game until like, I don't know, February or March, which is insane. But
and it's crazy because like immediately as the season starts, the trade deadline is literally like a couple months away, right? Or not even. And then the end of the season is going to be like just within 4 or 5 months. So it's pretty intense the way things are going to work out. Like I am excited to see how things do pan out. The player that I am most excited to see coming to camp is going to be Hoglander and also Nate Schmidt. I'm so excited to see what they bring.
Where do you see them plugging Nate kind of early on? Do you think they load it up and put him with Quinn?
You know what? I would love that. I don't think they're going to do that right away. I think that at first play him with either Edler or maybe even Myers, right? Just to kind of get things organized. But the thing is this, I think Edler and Myers work so well together. And I know this is the thing that Jeff Patterson also mentioned on during the playoffs, how well and how cohesive they work. They just kind of are like the same type of player, but different enough where they cover each other well. I think having Nate Schmidt with Hughes would be amazing. I would love if they do that. Do I think they can do that right away? No, but I think they definitely should right off the bat do that.
Yeah, no, like I think that would be pretty amazing to see, but I do agree. I think they'll probably spread it around early on and just kind of see how things unfold. I mean, it's only a 56 game schedule, but it's going to seem like a really long season, just the way that like how condensed everything is. So I don't think they'll kind of load it up. I think they'll want to kind of spread the minutes around and kind of have a bit more of a balanced attack. I think playoff time, hopefully if we do make it to the playoffs, I think you'll see more of Nate Schmidt paired up with Quinn Hughes. But I think early on, I agree. I think it'll be a lot of kind of mixtures between Edler and Myers early on, and just kind of ease them into the system.
One question I have for you, just going on this a little further, was do you see Nate Schmidt taking over the number 1 spot on the power play, or would you see them both on the power play on the same unit, or would you split it between
Yeah, that's a good question, but I don't see him overtaking Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, agreed.
Right, because like the fact that Nate Schmidt wasn't even the number 1 defensive option with Vegas Golden Knights, right? And I think Quinn Hughes, if you were to put him on the Vegas Golden Knights, he would be their number 1 option. So I don't see him overtaking Quinn Hughes. Well, I think Quinn Hughes is by far the best defenseman we have and the most creative.
You know what? Just to go off your point, the NHL website, TSN and Sportsnet, they rated the best defenseman in the North Division. Everyone picked Quinn Hughes. So, you're not the only one that thinks that way.
That's surprising, just given been like, because anytime you like see those lists, and I don't put a lot of stock in those lists, but anytime you see those lists, there's a lot of Eastern biases. So I thought Morgan Riley would have been number one, but the fact that Quinn Hughes was near the top, that's surprising.
Very much so, man. With Hoglander, say Bertan comes in and just for some reason isn't able to secure the top 6 spot.
Yeah, which is pretty reasonable to expect.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I am giving him like a brand new chance this year in my own head, right?
Yeah.
It's been let down for the last 3 opening camps, right? But the thing is, this year, I think that he definitely has a chance. Hopefully, he comes with a focus mindset.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, and we are seeing what we've seen in the past, and history repeats itself, could you see Hoglander cracking the top 6?
Could I see him be given looks in the top 6? Yes. But do I see him in the top 6 for like a long time? No. Just because the way that Green plays his top 6, I think he expects goals, because like Bertanen did put up 18 goals, which is pretty good for a top 6 player in this NHL. But I think he also expects his top 6 to play well defensively. And if he can't trust you in our own zone, he won't really give you those minutes. And I think that's why you saw so much of Travis Green kind of dogging Bertanen a little bit, just because he just wasn't able to trust him. So with Hoglander, while I think he would flourish in a top 6 role in terms of being able to put up points, I don't know how well he would be defensively to be able to get those minutes from Travis Green, especially early on. So I don't know, like as excited I am with Hoglander and just kind of seeing how he fits with his team, I am a bit reserved because I know how people are, especially in like CANUCKS Twitter, and if a prospect doesn't start putting up points immediately, I think we've been a bit spoiled with Quinn Hughes and PD just in terms of how they've been able to come in and just kind of immediately make an impact. I hope people are able to give Hoglander some room to grow, right? Because he is still very young, and it's not the norm for like these young prospects to come in and just immediately start putting up points and be dependable. So while I am cautiously optimistic, I don't know if I completely see him in a top 6 role right off the bat. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, if he's not able to be relied on defensively, there's no way Green gives him a long look or a chance there, right? But the thing is, I don't want to compare him to Virtanen. I feel like they're such drastically different players and types of players. And the big knock against Virtanen was just that he didn't really have that drive to do more than what he could. And he never really did what he could, to be honest. He never really drove to the net. His defensive plays were lacking, and he just always seemed like out of shape or tired. With Hoglander, there is a lot of drive there. Drive is not the issue at all. His biggest issue, I think, might be his size, and I think his defensive prowess is supposed to be pretty decent from one of the last things I read about his scouting report. He does backcheck well. He does chase hard on the puck. He likes to ride people out. But the thing is, for his size, there are some limitations that come with that, right? So unless he blows everyone away at camp, do I see him making it in the top 6? Honestly, man, if I think he can be relied on defensively, absolutely. Like, because right now our top 6, there's a big gap, right? There's a big place just missing for anyone to fill, and I don't see anyone else stepping up from the bottom 6 to take that role.
Like I do agree, but the only thing that that I think works against Hoglander in terms of this season is the fact that there are no preseason games for him to kind of ease into it and just kind of learn the pace of the game, right? Because it's basically training camp and then it's game 1 of the season, and the fact that there's only 56 games, every game is so important. Right? And like every game is a division game, so it's like a 4-point game every night. So he doesn't have a lot of room to make mistakes, which I think might not work in his wheelhouse and allow him to kind of play his game and kind of tense him up. But so I think that's kind of why I'm a bit more cautious than I think you are in terms of how he'll be in the top 6, especially this season. I think long term, I think he'll definitely be a top 6 staple, but for this season, at least for the first half of the season, I think he'll have a tough time being able to get a lot of ice time. But my thing though is like, if he doesn't get top 6 minutes and playing with those players, where do you see him? Like, do you think he'd be able to play on the third line? Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, just the way that we deploy our third line is usually a checking line.
The fact that you bring up a really good point, because even though Horvat's line gets put down in a shutdown line with chance opportunities to score, and they have that role, the checking line for the third unit, he's definitely not going to be in the fourth unit. He doesn't have the body for it. For the third unit, I mean, you already have Mott there, right? Potentially, if he's on the fourth line, I don't really see who he's going to take out of the equation, to be honest, right? I mean, even if say Justin Bailey and Bertanen show up really well in camp, they're bigger bodies with speed, and they can definitely play a role in the third or fourth line just with their size alone.
Yeah.
So I think outside the top six, you make a really good point. I don't really think there's a place for him on the team in the bottom six.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I'm just unsure about, just in terms of how things will kind of shake out. But we'll start getting those answers pretty soon, man. Once training camp gears up in a week.
And also, man, just looking at the schedule, this season is gonna go by so fast. There is literally no time for tests or chances or mistakes. You know, like every game counts. Literally every game counts. After the first 4 games, we have a 3-game mini series against Montreal, then 3-game mini series against Ottawa back to back. We have to win pretty much almost every game to get a top 4 spot. It's gonna be hard to just like throw some test players in there and just hoping for the best.
No, there's just no room for any sort of like kind of test games or kind of taking it easy. Like once the puck drops on January 13th, like they got to get those points, right? Because it's one thing when like the season starts and like it's the first game of the regular season, but those division games throughout like an 82 game schedule are so crucial. But with this condensed schedule, and we're only playing teams in our own division, which means every game is a division game. Every game is so important, right? And so like losing 2 points to your division rival night in, night out could really put you in a hole that might not be easy to crawl out of. So like I think that's going to be the tough thing for prospects to be able to get minutes in, just to kind of get some feelers. But I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how things unfold.
No, actually, you know what? It'd be kind of funny if Bonnie Henry, like she was the first person to drop the puck for opening night, right? So she was the one that almost canned everything. But
like I think middle of like the whole COVID stuff, like I think it was like summertime, people were saying like, oh man, when like hockey comes back, she has to drop the puck.
That's funny because Canucks Twitter almost ate her alive too online.
I know.
Oh, it's funny how fast things change. Speaking of things changing, we got some new hires in the coaching department. The old piece of the mattress line, King and 2 twins, Jason King. He's been hired as an assistant coach on with Greener. What are your kind of thoughts with that?
This news kind of came out of left field. I don't know if you had heard of anything, but his name wasn't really being kind of bandied around by anyone on Canucks Twitter. It just kind of came out of the blue. And like, to be perfectly honest, I never knew that we had him in Utica.
Me neither.
Like I was just like, where did they find him from? Like, and like looking at his like picture, like I thought he just came from his like accounting job and just got a job with the Canucks, just the way that he looks now. But I don't know. Like I don't really know what to make of it. Jason King as a player was a decent player when he was with us. He's obviously being carried by the Twins, but he has been with us for 5 seasons. He's seen a lot of our prospects that have gone through Utica, so I think he's taking over Manny Holtra's position, if I'm correct. I might be wrong about that, but with Malhotra going to Toronto as an assistant coach there, I think he might be coming in as an assistant here. I don't think it's an assistant on the bench. I think it's behind the scenes assistant.
Okay.
Which is what Malhotra was. But like I don't know what else to kind of make of it aside from that. What about you? Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think we gotta hire the Sedins as assistant coaches and just bring back that line together, right? But honestly though, considering he's been in Utica for the last 5 years and then they brought him up now, this kind of shows me that they might be getting ready for more of a youth movement. Because if he did have really tight connections with some of the D-core, say Chatfield, and Rafferty, and especially Levy, and any other defenseman that generally take longer to develop, right? So I feel like he probably has a really long-standing relationship with them, and if they are going to be part of the taxi squad, they're going to want some familiarity rather than just being bombarded with the whole NHL environment right away. I can totally seeing him being kind of like a bit of a cushion and being kind of like a familiar face.
That was a good play on word with the whole mattress line.
I don't know if you're gonna catch it. But anyways, another hire that also happened was Chris Higgins, and he got hired on as the skills and development coach, right? What are your thoughts there?
So like we had him before, because then him being a part of the Canucks, that I knew of. So what was he doing before? Do you know?
Before, he did work with the rookies. He connected with them. He had some sort of job like that. I thought he was already in this role,
Yeah,
but
that's what I
but
thought.
the fact that he's now officially taking over the skills and development coaching stuff for the Canucks, I think that he's just gonna take that aspect away from possibly Utica and just do that
Okay.
part during the off season, right? I think
Yeah,
it's the same role.
yeah, because like I know that he was working in Utica with like Ryan Johnson and that whole group there, but I just wasn't sure if his role there was the same, like skills and development. But yeah, like a great player. I think he's a really good communicator. I've like heard him talk a few times on the radio, and he comes across really knowledgeable and really great. So
Yeah.
I think they're good hires. It would be nice to kind of see them kind of go outside of the Canucks family and kind of hire players that weren't just former players. But he was a good player and quite respected around the league. So I think it's a good hire. And
No, I agree. I think apparently it seems like a lot of the prospects and a lot of the younger rookies really do look up to him. They really do respect him, and they do like the connection they have with him. So the fact
yeah.
that he's coming over also with the Mattress King, I think that it really does speak to just kind of the youth movement, right, and the direction that they're going. Because I feel like they might be kind of like a buffer for adjustment for this kid.
That's actually a really great point that you brought up because I remember, I think it was this past summer when, remind me his name again, that prospect that was, people were saying that he was in with, oh my God, I'm just losing names here, but who was the scout that we lost to Minnesota? What was the name again? Let me see if you
Judd Brackett.
Judd Brackett, yeah. I can't remember the name. Was it Rathbone, maybe?
Rathbone, yeah. What about him?
Right. I think it was him when, if he didn't sign by a certain date, he would have been a free agent. And people were worried that he was not going to sign with Vancouver because he had a really tight relationship with Judd.
Yeah.
But then when he signed, when he was doing his radio appearances, he was saying that the work done by Chris Higgins, the relationship that he had with him, really helped him kind of sign with the Canucks and kind of feel at ease. So I think people were pretty surprised by that because they thought the only kind of relationship he had was with Judd Brackett. So yeah, like you said, I think he does have a very underrated relationship with a lot of the prospects. Yeah, it'll only help.
Dude, if Rathbone makes the team and ends up being one of our best defensemen, I think just promote Higgins to GM right now. Just get him that spot, dude. Talking about more of our rookies.
Yeah.
The whole thing about Rathbone that I'm kind of worried about is that everyone is hyping him up through the roof. I have not read one, even just analysis from someone that wasn't just way, way too high, and just an amazing review of the kid. As happy as I am to hear that stuff, I have not seen anything out of this guy from college or no video, no nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just going off other people's words. Say he comes and he's not what we expect him to be or not as good as what we want him to be, right? Because he's supposed to be coming this year to Canada. I can just imagine the shitstorm that's going to happen on Twitter bashing this guy.
Yeah, I know. It's probably going to be as bad as what we're seeing with Paul Kozin. But like it kind of like what you just said before you prefaced that question, you were like, well, like, if he comes in and he's our best defenseman, I'll be so happy. That's how a lot of people are, and like I'm kind of guilty of that too. I think we tend to rate our prospects a lot higher than what they might really be. And when we have like young, promising prospects, we get really amped up, and we usually just let ourselves down, and then we blame the prospect for not living up to our own expectations.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these prospects, again, we've been so spoiled with Quinn Hughes and PD just immediately coming in and just like wowing us and thinking that this is how it is. We sometimes forget we've had such a long history of horrible prospects that just never panned out in the NHL. So we got to let these guys grow at their own pace, develop. There is a very strong likelihood that Rathbone will come in and not do anything, and that's okay, right? Because like he's a defenseman, they grow at a slower rate than forward. So I think if he's able to get any sort of minutes this season, I think that's a win. And I think that's how people should be approaching it. But like, what do you expect from him? Like realistically for this upcoming season, do you think he'll get NHL minutes?
Dude, honestly, from what I'm reading from Harmon Dial and just like other people's reviews, I'm not expecting him to be like a star player, but I expect him to be not Quinn Hughes alike, but possibly, better than Ulevy, better than Rafferty. His puck movement, his skills, his vision, and his ability to just outlet and score are just phenomenal, apparently. From what other people are saying, I would expect him to even take the number 6 spot over Ulevy. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
But that being said, do I expect that to happen? No, man. I'm really measuring my expectations with this kid. I love his story though. Like I'm rooting for this guy. You know, he's spent another extra year at home just because he has a brother that really relies on him, a family that relies on him. His brother has special needs, I believe, and then and so it was really hard for him to leave his family and go to college. But after being drafted, I remember the Canucks did this little video on his family, and just to show the type of person he is and the type of people, the family that he comes from, you're definitely rooting for this guy, man. You want him to just be a star player. But to be honest, right now in my books, Levy is the number one person that I think will take the number 6 spot, and I think that was kind of hinted at when during the playoffs we had Rafferty up, we had Chatfield up, and Levy got the spot to play the one playoff game. Even though it was only 5-6 minutes, he still got that time over any of the other guys. So just going off that, I think that Levy still takes the number 6 spot over any other person. I think they're going to bring someone up. I don't think they're going to end up signing any players like Hamonic. I just don't think there's any money for that. They're really trying to promote from within, and I think Elliot Friedman mentioned that too. He said they're really not looking at any more people. They're just going to sign from they're just going to bring from within now, and they're at that point in their team's building process that they're just going to bring people up slowly and have a strong core and strong foundation of what they're like, the same kind of ideology with the Canucks belief system. But that being said though, Rathbone, even if he makes it as a number 7-8 guy, that's huge, man. Like that is huge.
Yeah, I know. I think if he gets any minutes, I think that's a massive win. And is able to kind of show that he belongs in the NHL.
Yeah, he's like a 5th round or 2 or something, right?
Yeah, no, they've been doing really well with their late picks, but I do agree with what Friedman was saying, that I think, I mean, to be honest, it's their own doing that they have to rely on their own depth because they can't go out and sign players just because they just don't have the money. But if this was any other season, like any other like regular 82 game season, I would have been fine with it. But the way that the schedule is so condensed, having depth, I think, is going to set apart the teams that make the playoffs and the ones that don't. And I think if Canucks don't make the playoffs, it's going to be because they just don't have depth and they ran into injury problems, which is a totally conceivable scenario.
Oh yeah, there's a game literally every other day.
Yeah, so I wish we could add a little bit more depth on defense, just so that in case something happens, we have that depth. But yeah, I am hopeful that Rathbone gets some minutes. But I agree. I think it's going to be Levy's spot to lose because I think they have a lot riding in him and are expecting for him to come in and play some minutes because he didn't look out of place during the playoff game. But
not at all. But he had this one tape-to-tape pass. I was like, damn, that thing balls.
Yeah, no. He looked very confident in that. But speaking of late round draft picks and kind of the World Juniors kind of going on right now, what are your thoughts on like what Kosmar has been doing with Sweden?
Dude, his first game, what a smart player. Like this guy is such a smart little tenacious crafty guy. I was watching him play and you can just see like his mental smarts in the game and how the game flows and where to be. They're spot on. And his first game, in the first 30 seconds, he pops in this great deflected goal. His defenseman passed it over to him, or sorry, I think it was his winger, and he took it while he was trying to stop and skating on his edges, and he just deflected it in with without really even taking a shot. And it was just such a smart goal. And the way he got behind the defense, this guy is a 7th round pick, man.
Crazy, I know.
Yeah, and we're already getting this much worth from him. I'm not saying he's gonna make an NHL player and this and that. We never know, right? But the fact that we're getting this out of a 7th round player, that just gives you so much optimism and so much hope.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And you are right. It was his defenseman that had passed it to him. But yeah, no. So I'll be honest, I haven't been watching a lot of the games. We got potty training going on right now. But
for you or your kid?
I'm not gonna say. But yeah, though, like from what I've seen on Twitter and stuff, and the way that people have been talking about his game, it's been all positive. Yeah, no, I'm really excited what his future holds, and I really hope that he's able to kind of keep it going for the rest of the World Juniors. But one prospect that hasn't had the best start, if you were to look off of Canucks Twitter, that would be Paul Kozin.
Yeah.
His game just ended right now with a 2-0 loss against the Czechs. What have you made of his game so far? I know you've been a little bit more positive than what most people have been on Twitter. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is that he reminds me a lot of a young Bo Horvat. I'm not gonna lie. He's got faster wheels, but just the way he kind of goes after the body, he's like this bull in this little area and he's just knocking people over. His board work is amazing. I remember Horvat's board work while he was playing with the Knights, I believe it was called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he was just bullying people around, and then he would dangle his way to the goal and just in the crease, in the paint, rough his way through people and get a goal or set up plays, right? And he was heavily reliant offensively and his drive, and he was a leader for that team too. Same thing at his age right now. Paul Colson's only like what, like 19,
19,
28,
yeah.
I think.
19, yeah.
19, like he is the captain. He's relied on in major defensive situations. Just today, he was killing off a penalty, and he alone got the puck to the opposite side on the check side behind their net. It was a 1-on-3, and he held the puck there for maybe 10-15 seconds by himself, just fighting people off. 1-on-3, dude. And this guy, he has deeks. He's setting up plays. I really do not understand why everyone is so upset. Just the fact that he hasn't been on the score sheet yet. It's only been 2 games. He's such a major part of that team, and the way that team is being led. It's so unfortunate to see grown-ass adults doing this to a 19-year-old on the world stage. Relax, people. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think I kind of echo what you're saying. Like, it's one thing to kind of bash someone's game if, you know, they're not doing well, or if they're not driving the play. I think while I didn't agree with the amount of criticism that Bertan was getting when he played for Team Canada, I could see why they were upset, because he just wasn't driving the play. He wasn't moving his feet. You know, he's such a big body. He's got such great wheels when he played for Team Canada. And at that point, he was, I think, 20, so he was a bit older than most of the players, and he just wasn't taking over games the way that he should. But if you actually watch Paul Colton's game and the way that he plays, and I kind of watched the last 6 minutes of the Czech game, like, he's definitely driving the play, and he's doing everything that he could possibly do. Sometimes during like these World Juniors, you either run into a really hot goalie, or you just don't have the same amount of skill on your own team. And I'm not sure which one is which so far, but I don't think his game is the reason why he hasn't put up points. I think he's been doing everything he could, and I think we, as like a Canucks community or collective, whatever you want to call it, he's a prospect that we should definitely be excited over, and not someone that we should just kind of be nitpicking over the smallest things. You know, like these World Juniors are not so much for him to just kind of rack up points, but it's more so for him to kind of show his leadership of being the captain, you know, and just kind of driving the play and just showing his all-around game, as opposed to just cherry picking and just getting points that way. So I kind of do agree. I think I do wish people would just kind of ease up and just kind of watch from like a farther lens and just kind of see how he's really playing, as opposed to just kind of looking at the stat sheet and just being, oh, well, he got like no points, no assists, he sucks, you know. It's just a very like, it's a very basic way of looking at the game.
Yeah, it's such a narrow-minded scope. Even earlier today, we had, I think, Pratt on Twitter was calling him out for not having a great game. Dude, Podkolzin, in the first game against USA, they put him in a primarily shutdown role to make sure that the other team, their top players, and USA has some pretty good players, man, like really good players. Podkolzin was out there beating people up, bashing people across the boards, and he had some cheap hits on that happened on him as well, like really dirty plays,
really late hits.
Yeah, he still got up and he led by example, and he shut down the players that he needed to, and they won that game. Even today, like, he had so many great plays of just deking people out, creating space. His ability to create space is amazing, right? And he's such a smart player. I wish he did shoot a little bit more, but that being said, man, his ability to set up plays is amazing. Like you said, the people are going to compare him to Petey and Quinn Hughes right away, right? And the fact that they're looking at just at the stat sheet. Dude, the Czech Republic today played an amazing defensive game. They literally brought down the Iron Curtain, man. Like, they blocked, I think, over 30 shots, I believe, right? Every time the team tried to come to the neutral zone, it was just a wall. So many of the defensemen stepped up and just destroyed the Russian forwards just with these huge hits, right? And Cam Robinson, just right now, he just tweeted, quick search of the name Podkolzin and returns some nervous Canucks fans, except he's been pretty good tonight. Relax, people. You know, like, media personnel are telling you to relax. You know, the people that don't really have an agenda are telling you to relax. He's going to be great. He's showing amazing things. If he was in the Canucks lineup right now, I can guarantee you, just with his defensive prowess alone, he'd be lined up right beside Horvat. Horvat would be teaching him how to be Horvat 2.0, Russian version, right?
Yeah.
And just go on from there. And when his goals do start coming, they're going to come in droves, man. They are definitely going to come in droves. Canucks Twitter, man, so many negative Nancy's and people just bitching left, right, and center. People got to relax.
I agree, man. I think there's just way too many people just looking for reasons to complain. I think there's nothing really to complain about his game so far. And the fact that we got him at the 10th pick is, I think, is going to be a steal.
Oh yeah. So, dude, next week, literally in 7 days, we have camp starting.
Yeah.
Right? That is crazy. Like just a week and a half ago, we found out that hockey was coming back. 2 days ago, we found out that Canucks will be able to play at home. And now next week, literally camp is starting. They're gonna finalize the lineup, and then by 13th on Wednesday, they're gonna play their first game in Edmonton. So back-to-backs in Edmonton, 13th, 14th, Calgary, and then there's 6 straight games in Vancouver. I am so excited, dude.
Yeah, I know. It should be a lot of fun to watch. I think it's going to be a good season, man. I am cautiously optimistic. I think while we don't have the depth that I wish we would have had in any other year, I think the top 6 will take a jump, especially the top line. I think they'll do better than what they did previous years. And I think our top 4 defense, especially with Schmidt, I think is going to add a new wrinkle to how we play. Yeah, no, I can't wait for things to get going.
Dude, same. I'm so excited. There's so many questions still to be answered, just like you said, with our top 6, our number 5 and 6 spot for our defense, what's actually going to happen. So I'm excited to see how things unravel. But we're literally less than 2 weeks away for all this stuff to get started. We'll connect again next week and see how things go.
Perfect. Sounds good, man.
That's a wrap for episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are having a safe Christmas and New Year's. And until next week, enjoy the music.
Computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.